What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Exploring Space and Time. I'm joined with Ebru today, who's our head of ecosystem. Really excited to be able to get some time and sit down with you. Ebru, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a short introduction? Why don't you let the audience know how you got into the blockchain space and maybe a little bit about what you've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me, Spencer.
Of
This is
course.
very exciting. This is my first interview at Space and Time, so I'm looking forward to this, like what we're going to talk about. But yeah, as you said, I joined Space and Time recently as a head of ecosystem. What is that? So basically, I'm leading the partnership effort in integrations, and my background is like heavily on the engineering side and like software engineering and data, big data, just and also Web3. So as you can imagine, it's just like the perfect combination for space and time. And prior to space and time, I was at Scale. I was working for like Scale Labs team and building Scale Network. I was director of solutions engineering there. So it's very similar. I basically led the validator program, built the validator community, and all these like network releases, launches, partnership, and integrations in the Web3 space. And it's like I made sure that we like everybody, like all the partners, had a successful journey with Scale. And prior to that, I was at Oracle, Web2. Basically, I was a software engineer, big data engineer there. Built the prior to that in general, like I built like customer data platform for marketing clouds, like startups and Oracle and similar idea. And now, like I love technology, I love data, I love Web3. So I'm here at Space and Time. I'm looking forward to what we're going to build together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the partnerships alone this year with Space and Time has already been so exciting. So
I know
definitely a lot.
so much demand and
Right.
like so
A
many
lot more to go
partnerships.
too. So a couple things I want to unpack. So
Yeah,
when did you first get into Web3? You mentioned that you worked at Scale.
yeah.
Uh, what kind of drew you to decentralized technology? What drew you over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is I started like 2017. I was checking like, the technologies. Like I was in Web 2 and I started reading books about like blockchain. I still didn't understand it at first, like what it is, and it just took me a while to click. And then so I had a friend, Christine Perry, who I worked with. Like she was the VP of Solutions Engineering. So one day, I think it was like my wedding day, and I was just like, you know what? I really want to go into blockchain space. It's a very cool technology, and I love the centralization idea. And then she's like, wait. So I'm just joining like Scale. Like I'm looking at Scale Network. Like, what about like you join our team? And it's like, and I wanted to. So I'm an extrovert in nature, and I was like coding every day, writing SQL crazy code and like writing Java code. And then she was like, "What about like you have a natural thing for solutions engineering and partnership, and we have a need for that. Do you want to just change?" And then I took a big risk and like said like let's do it. And then I loved it, like talking to people. I was still technical, but I really loved that the blockchain space and the node operators and like everybody in the space was like so welcoming that like I just like going to the hackathon was my first day. So I loved like just working with the hackers side by side, working with the node operators. It was just like it was a blast. So I just made one of the best decisions to join the Web3 space.
Yeah, I definitely think that's been one of my favorite aspects of the space too.
You
Just
too, right?
collective goal. Like everybody just wants mass adoption, right? Everybody, like, we're all working to the same goal. Like, this is not a winner take all market, you know what I mean? We're working
Yeah,
with partners, but so you mentioned leading the validator program.
right.
How do you view that role, and how are you going to transfer that over to space and time?
That's a very good question. I love so when I was at like Scale like Network and Scale Labs team, like I love working with the validators. They're like inner collaborative community. So it's basically if they believe in the projects and they work like because they support and the backbone of the network, like every decentralized network, they after a while they become your coworkers. Like they
Yeah.
just support the network and like They provide security. They work together. You work together like in every release, and the like upgrades, network launches, like celebrations, and also like just like go to hackathon events together. Just after a while, it's just they're part of your life, everyday life. And because they know what they're doing, like they know, like you don't have to tell them anything. You just say that, like, hey, this is our project, this is what we are doing. They provide the security, they provide like the educational and like co-marketing, and that's basically like the best support for every network. So I love working with them because they're super hardworking and smart individuals. It doesn't matter, it is like small validator group, like which is like a couple of people come together, like technology enthusiasts, versus like big enterprise, like just validators. I can name a couple of them, but it's like it doesn't block Demon, Anchor, Dokia, and like just all these like 0 1 node. Like I work with a lot of them, and staking facilities. I can go on and on. So
Yeah.
these guys are just like they know what they're doing. I loved like working with them, and I'm planning to just like hopefully do the same thing at Space and Time, build a validator community to life together with all these like top tier like validators, and publicly just like build a validator community at Space and Time with you, of course, Spencer. I'm excited for that.
Well, I think I speak for everybody, and we're beyond excited that you're spearheading this. So
Oh, I appreciate that.
let's back up here a bit and kind of talk more about space and time, and
Mm-hmm.
especially since kind of given that you have maybe a little bit fresher eyes on space and time right now. We've been
Mm,
kind of coined as this unique data solution in the space right now, especially when it
yeah.
comes to joining on-chain and off-chain data, right? So walk me through what you think is so novel about this and what kind of use cases is it going to enable moving forward?
That's good. Let me just like think about it. I'm just like so excited about the on-chain and off-chain combination, right? So there's we're currently working with the major blockchain, like Polygon, Avalanche, Ethereum, data, like all these like and maybe like hopefully like Soon Network, and like Solana and then more, right? Like, and then other than the blockchain data, being able to bring the off-chain data into a data warehouse, provide us like amazing decentralized data warehouse, like so that you can anybody just like can run a smart contract query on top of like terabytes of data.
Mhm.
So what I'm just like very excited is like one of them is the chaining partnership, right?
Yeah.
Jamming partnership is going to bring like a lot of like we're going to open up with a lot of opportunity for a lot of gaming and DeFi use cases and business different business logic. So normally like I would just spend a lot of time building a smart contract to basically write a query that brings the on-chain off-chain. Like for instance, gaming, right? I have a wallet. I want to just like, hey, what are all these like wallet addresses for this specific NFT? Who are the owners? That is actually in a leaderboard in off-chain gaming data. Bring this data into a data warehouse, combine it, and then just like feed that in a tamper-proof way, which is like the proof of SQL. Probably like you have Jay in the previous session,
Yeah.
that like you can just like proof of SQL is just mind blowing. The first time that I heard about it, like after the proof of like, I don't want to just like go into a lot of like
Mhm.
just
Go ahead.
sidetrack things, but it is like that is so cool that after the data is ingested, the blockchain data or off chain data ingested, being having the ability to make sure that it is tamper proof is nowhere seen. Like I haven't seen that anywhere. Normally you incentivize the node operators to just like bring like or staking, right? Like to secure the network to make sure that the data is correct and like the data that is provided is correct. But
Mhm.
the proof of SQL is that it just ensures that in the entire network data is exactly identical and like tamper proof and not modified. This is just actually one of the mind blowing things for me. And also, like after the block finality in any blockchain, 3 seconds after, you can query it through an API a JDBC connection, like you can do it anywhere, and also like provide this information to smart contract and feed with the Chainlink partnership is like very unique, because every like Chainlink is like basically how can I say, it's the highest transaction volume in every network, right? Everybody uses it. They're the best Oracle. So I'm very excited about this partnership. But giving them like this platform space and time as a decentralized data warehouse that people can run SQL queries instead of thinking about crazy smart contract, like how to store the data. What about gas price goes up to $300?
Yeah.
Giving this like to the developers that they can build it on top of space and time is something that is needed as an infrastructure level that for the decentralized communities.
100%. Yeah. And you quickly mentioned, normally this is a node operator job, right? So we've got people doing this and providing, tamper-proof queries to our network right now. So what do you see the role of a node in space and time, and what do they provide?
Absolutely. Node operators, as I mentioned, they're the backbone. So I can just, do you mind like just sharing, like, can I share just like the architecture a little bit so that, yeah, absolutely. Awesome. So architecture, like we just talk about it, it's very cool. Like there's a validator tier and there's a data warehouse clusters tier. Like the validator tier is basically like, it's very straightforward. It's bunch of microservices come together doing different things. It's Docker containers, microservices. It's kind of like Kafka streaming, data routing, so gateway, API, consensus. And also we talked about proof of SQL, the verification goes into this validator tier. So that's first tier. And the second tier is the data warehouse cluster, where you run the SQL, like, just the engine, and where you can just run the SQL queries. So when these two is basic, and also like because of proof of SQL, we will need, like, we have partnership with NVIDIA. So as you can imagine, like we need high performance, GPU accelerated, powerful machines. And node operators, of course, their role is to provide the security, provide like high availability, and also performance validator and data warehouse clusters. So in return, they will be incentivized for their effort and then what they're going to provide. And there will be monitoring and telemetry, of course, like a bunch of other stuff. But in general, they're going to provide the powerful machines and also the high availability, 99.9% uptime and statuses. So they basically, that's their role in the network.
Yeah.
And provide a decentralization 100%.
100%, and I think that's going to be one of the most critical parts of our infrastructure, right? Is that we're actually providing decentralized analytics and data warehousing, which isn't really available right now.
Anyway,
so you mentioned our partnership with Chainlink a couple times. Let's unpack that, right? Let's go into what the function of an oracle is, and how is space and time leveraging Chainlink oracles or their dons to connect external adapters, run APIs. Like, how are we leveraging their services?
Spencer, you already know, like, do you want to code with me? Build APIs and like oracles. It's awesome.
I'll let you take the floor.
So Chainlink, I'm very, very excited about that. I mentioned earlier, but so basically Oracle, like Chainlink oracles, like mainly it's used for data feeds, right? The price feeds, like you ETH, USDC in multiple networks. That's the most like Oracle is known for. And also like their external adapters where you can just like plug it in and then it's any API where Oracle's just like can query off-chain data, right? They're just like bring off-chain data into smart contracts. So where like, and also like I mentioned, it is that like sometimes it's like most of the time it's the centralized data warehouse that the query is bringing in. What space and time brings into the space is like this tamper-proof queries, right? Query results, which is proof of SQL that you just like, we're bringing the full decentralization. So think about it, like, again, I just mentioned like NFT tokens and, like that you want to bring off-chain data. There's so many assets like around blockchains. And like, so basically like Space and Time provides like full unified data that anybody can query, real-time data or complex analytical queries. And then they can feed into smart contracts with Chainlink integration. So, and then what happens is that it's a decentralized infrastructure. So the data is going to be like, we're just providing the fully secure data for the entire community. So that, first of all, like they don't, like, again, I mentioned that like developers don't have to write crazy smart contracts, and like they can just like write a SQL query and it will just like go back and like with the external adapter, it's going to query on Space and Time, and then this query result is going to feed the smart contract, instead of like developer just think about like, oh my gosh, where am I going to store this data? What about the gas price? So Space and Time, we're going to provide like, hey, this is the gas price that you're going to just like see if you just execute this SQL query, or this is the like the just like a single query that you're going to execute. They can just write it on the Space and Time and then change it anytime and just like publish it into production and use it anytime, instead of like writing crazy logic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so as we unpack this kind of network that is Space and Time and node operations, how does Space and Time differ from that of a blockchain?
Yeah, good question. Like blockchain in general, like I worked at like Scale Network, so it was a EVM chain, like Polygon and Avalanche, and there are like a bunch of EVM chains, and then there's new DM projects, and Sui Network is one of them, is coming out. So basically, I mean, to make it like very simple, it's a Ethereum and like all these blockchains that is kind of like a database as well. But you basically broadcast a transaction and the block just forms, and then it's just they provide the secure decentralized blockchain. So what happens is that if I just send you, like, think that is smart contract, Spencer, like I'm sending you $100, right? And basically, like in the blockchain, it just checks like if I have the funds in the smart contract. And is this the right address? It's from address to address, and the transaction is broadcasted. Miners or validators just works in I mean, now it's like all validators, like everything is like staking, but validators just like basically form the blockchain. And it's mostly like this data is stored in like, I think, level DB in the EVM. But what Space and Time can provide is that you can query the wallet balances of both of us across all the networks, because we index all the blockchain data. So like Space and Time indexes not blockchain data, but basically I can just query what is my wallet balance across Polygon, Avalanche, and Space and Ethereum all together, and Scale Network. So basically, like you can just query all the assets, and how many assets do you have everywhere? How many NFTs do you have everywhere? Like what is it? How many tokens of 1155 NFTs you have everywhere? So basically, you can query this data and then combine it with the off-chain data. So it's a data warehouse. So I want to just mention very quickly that just like when I first just like you were asking me 3.5 years ago, if there like how I joined. Basically, like I joined because I love data as well, and Ethereum reminded me of like this early databases that takes forever to execute. So as I mentioned, it's like I love playing around with it. I love it's familiar, but it's like I can just say that there's so many new languages now. Like the languages just changes. Like for coding, it changes, but like SQL just is going to live forever, I feel like. And then of course, Space and Time is not only going to just support SQL, but also graph query language as well. So instead of like writing for loops and the smart contract, like you can just plug it into like just like any other big data and like Web2 approach, like that you have the API, you have a code, and then you execute a select statement if it's like analytical or transactional queries. Basically, Space and Time provides both of them, hybrid, how do you say it? Hybrid analytical transaction analytical processing. So you can you can write just like SQL
H
queries and
H
execute
chat for
anywhere.
sure for everybody out there.
HTAP, yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure that I just like provided the entire like,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
so blockchain needs this kind of background infrastructure for decentralized future. So um and anybody can write like just use the JDBC query, plug it to Tableau, or just like use the JDBC connection to just like use the Tableau builds like dashboards, or you can build like you can use the API key for your DApp, and then just like use it for your marketplaces. It can be used for lending, derivatives. There's so many use cases that you can you can use space and time, and it's so important, specifically proof of SQL, especially for DeFi. I cannot tell you enough that it's like how important it is.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Sweet. Well, Ebru, it's been so amazing getting to sit down with you. We're running out of time here, but I want to leave you off with one more question. It's been trial by fire for you. I mean, you've jumped right into the flames as soon as you've been at Space and Time. Any parting thoughts to the community about what you're excited about? Maybe some of the exciting things you've already been a part of at Space and Time, and how we can capitalize that and move forward.
Absolutely. I wish this was like the hot wings or whatever, the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
That is like we should do that maybe next
We could
time.
probably buy some of those.
Hot wings in space and time.
No,
What I'm
definitely.
excited about, actually, like one of like ecosystem is like the head of ecosystem, right? Like my title. Like I'm most excited about the community and building the community. Like every decentralized network, yes, the core team just works on it, but building the community, developer community, and validator community, analyst community, I think these are all the things that I'm very, very excited about. Not only the technology is like unique partnerships that we basically, like, we have partnerships. But before I joined, like, it's easy, my work is easy. Before I joined, we already had amazing partnership with Chainlink, amazing partnership with Azure. We're doing all the development there, like partnership with AWS. We're gonna have like one-click deployments for node operators, like across like all the like major clouds. Like I'm gonna mention it later. We have other, hopefully, like new cloud partnership as well. We have a lot of like streaming, data streaming. Like, oh, there's so many partnership opportunities that I've been involved with, like 50 of them, and it's my first month. And there is an amazing, like, the community and ecosystem that we are building together. Not only the people that is like working like as a core team that is like bright individuals, but it's like the partnership that I'm seeing, the people that I'm working with. I think that's what the most excited about, because everybody is excited about the technology, and then together we are just going to bring it to life.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
everyone.
I mean, couldn't be more grateful for, the amazing partners we have, especially our internal team, and the community. Speaking of which, again, thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been a blast, Ebru. I cannot wait to get to sit down with you again.
Let's do it.
Yeah, right. Until next time, guys. Thank you. Cheers.